Hey guys, this is Alessandro, welcome back, and today I want to talk to you about repetition and how this can be very important, especially if you're at the beginning learning and studying animation. And to be fair guys, it's not just about animation, it can happen to other discipline, maybe a completely other jobs, stuff like that, but I want to really tell you how this helped me not just to improve my skill in terms of animation, but how to become really fast and really efficient. Especially if you saw my tutorial, you see me when I face certain problem, I managed to find really easy a solution. Okay guys, and now actually repetition help me in that, right? So let me step back at the beginning when I was trying to learn animation. I didn't have any school or anything. I didn't attend any school at the beginning. So what did I do? I bought a book, I was following some tutorial online and stuff like that. And if the tutorial is well done and it's step by step, at the end of the day, you can just follow it. And I came up with the result. For me, one of the first tutorials that I did in animation was a work cycle, right? Vanilla work cycle. So yeah, the tutorial was quite well done. And so it happened, I was doing my own personal project. I needed to do like a work cycle, so I was following all the steps, right? And it was like, putting a contact here, every 3 frame the down pose, every 3 frame passing position up, and so on. You probably know what I'm talking about, guys. And so I followed it and I felt pretty good because the result was quite good. And then what happened is that, I continued with my project, everything. And after a month, I needed to do another work cycle, and I was like, you know what, now I know how to do it. A month ago I did one, followed the tutorial, the result was pretty good, and let me do one by myself. So I sit in front of Maya, and I was like, uh, hold on a second, how was the first pose? What should I do after the first contact pose, the passing, the down, how many frames? Basically, the guy didn't remember a thing, right? So basically what happened, I have to go back, watch it again, the tutorial, and I did a walk cycle, and then after a week I was like, maybe I should try one more time and see if I remember. And again, after a week I still remember many steps didn't work very well. I tried to do one fully by myself, it didn't even look as half as good as the one that I did following the tutorial. So at that point I kind of realized that, you know what, I was just following blinding the tutorial, but I was not really understanding what I was doing. So I was only doing things because someone was doing it in front of me and I was just copying it. And this has nothing to do with learning animation. So and there was also some of the things that I forgot certain steps, because especially in animation at the beginning can be very overwhelming. There are so many controllers, the foot roll, the knees, the hip, you need to track the arc, easy in, easy out, the curve in the graph. There are so many things to remember at the beginning. It's so overwhelming. So basically what I did is like for the first week I said, you know what, now I'm gonna repeat this work cycle until I managed to learn all by myself. So I was doing every day, I was doing that tutorial 4 times in a day, like in a row, boom, boom. Every 2 hours I was doing a work cycle, right? And after the first 3 days, I was like, okay, now I felt like I memorized the step. So I started to do by myself, and it's like I managed to do the first 50%, and I realized still something wasn't working. I go back to look at tutorial, I remember, then the next time I do it by myself, blah blah blah. And after a weeks, I've done probably like 20-30 times the walk cycle, and I start to remember. And I was like, you know what, but I don't want to keep forgetting it. And so it happened that for a month, every day in the morning, right, I was saying, you know what, before I started to do my actual job, in the morning I will spend 1 hour just to do a work cycle every single day for a month, just repeating it. And it was just by myself, I didn't need the tutorial anymore, but just wanted to make sure that I really remember all the steps. And I was also memorizing all the things that I need to put attention when it comes to animation. I knew at some point I need to make sure the timing was good. The up and down is something I realized was very important, to give weight, acceleration, deceleration, the arc, smooth the tangent, and make sure that I find the right balance, that it wasn't too smooth and stuff like that. So all those things now I started to master them a little bit, right? And at the end, 2 months like this, now I knew perfectly how to do a vanilla work cycle. But there was another step, right? It's not just this one, because if you just repeat over and over one single exercise, it's good because you're remembering things now a lot quicker, it's a lot more efficient now. But now the things are, I was so fixated in certain things, in certain rule that I copy. For example, having a pose every 3 frame, that when suddenly I had to do a different work cycle, I struggled, because, for example, I bought the book The Illusion of Life. There was one of the work cycles that they show off in their book was a kind of sneaky work cycle where the character is kind of walking like this very slowly, like almost like a thief, try to tiptoe and going in. And I was like, okay, in the book there are all the drawing for the main key pose and main breakdown. I was like, seems pretty easy. I know at this point auto polish, so I think I just have to put those key every 3 frame, and then from there I'm gonna go easy. And suddenly when I do that, it looked like a mess because this character was moving really quickly and really fast. It's like, this doesn't feel like, it didn't feel like any sneaky at all. Like this character looks psychotic or something. So, and it didn't work because I go back to the book, I was like, feel like something maybe was missing. They didn't say anything about the timing. And I tried to do my own video reference now, and I realized, starting from reference, that the timing was quite different. I was like, okay, and I realized now, okay, I cannot just apply the same rule that I applied for the vanilla work cycle. I cannot apply it over here, right? I need to adapt. And so this is also another things now. I realized that some of the things that you learn in a tutorial, okay, it's good if they work for the specific case, but then are you able to apply to something else, right? To another animation that is similar but in a way different? Are you able? Do you really understand what you did, and now you can apply a different scenario? Because if you cannot, again, it only means that you were just copy a tutorial, but you have no idea what you're doing. When you did the up and down of a walk, you had no idea why a down position is called the down position, and when they pass in a position, the weight is going up. You have no idea why you're doing it. You have no idea why the hip is moving in a certain way. It's when the hip from the front view is tilting like this. You have no idea why. You're only doing it because a tutorial is telling you to do it, and this is actually wrong, right? So that's the other things that you're doing. Repetition is the first step, okay, to memorize things and to be very efficient, but make sure you understand what you're doing. And I can give you another practical example that I remember I struggled at the beginning. You saw, guys, my previous tutorial. If you look at my previous tutorial, I have done this animation tutorial about the bouncing ball with a tail beneath it, and I was discussing about the follow through, secondary action, path of action, all those things, right? And my tutorial is step by step, so it's quite detailed, and so it can happen that you might follow, you might do the bouncing ball having the same kind of bouncing, first small bounce, big bounce, and jumping on a wall and everything. You can do exactly the same what I'm doing, and then you just can start the follow through of the tail based on that motion, because that motion is driven the tail animation, right? So first of all, yes, you might follow step by step, and you can come up with a very nice animation on the tail with a nice follow through and everything. But the question is, first of all, are you able to do it by yourself without watching the tutorial, to make sure you really understand how the force in the ball is kind of driving the tail and everything? That's the first things you have to understand. And second, now that you think you understand, if you're gonna do another exercise where you take a bouncing ball and you let him do a completely different choreography, okay, so instead of having jumping from right to left, then jumping to a wall, you do a completely different motion where it's jumping really high and going down, swinging, going back, jump back a few times. If you completely change the choreography, and now you don't have a tutorial teaching you how you should animate the tail, are you able efficiently to animate the tail? Did you understand the principle in the weight and the timing and spacing that affecting the tail animation, right? If the answer is not, because you're trying now to do something different and it doesn't look as good as it's supposed to, again, it's only means that you're not really understanding what you're doing. You're just following blindly. And me personally, I think that it doesn't help like this, okay? Those tutorials for you to show you the way, but it's up to you not to follow blindly step by step, because like this it doesn't help, right? And anytime you'll have to do a different animation, you cannot rely to find someone else's tutorial, someone else explaining it to you. So sometimes what is good is when you look at this tutorial online, break it down into small pieces and try to understand, okay? For example, if doing a choreography became something too difficult for you, what about if you do like a simple bouncing a bouncing ball bouncing up and down on the spot, and then study by yourself the drag and the follow through in the tail, and trying to understand what is the moment when the tail goes dragged down while the ball goes up, and how it's been affected by the by the gravity, And when the ball is reaching the peak and started to go down, the tail, you know, started to go up, right? To understand all those things. And then you realize that if you master this kind of technique, then you can apply it to the rest of every movement, right? Sometimes it's good to study live reference. You can having like taking a ball and touch a napkin or something, just experiment different things. But this is the things that I want to encourage, because I can tell you guys it happens very often. Then I have students or people just approaching me, says, hey, like, Alessandro, I just followed your tutorial, I've done this work cycle, what do you think? They came with me for consulting, stuff like that. And even my work cycle tutorial is step by step, they try to follow it. They can understand that they miss some point, maybe they had too much overlapping, they accidentally flip the axis rotation on the hip. And I could see immediately that those mistakes are done because you know, they didn't understand what they were doing. Maybe in my tutorial at some point there is a little step I was missing or something, and they get lost. Again, they get lost because they were no idea what they were doing. So again, for me, repetition and then try different things, and actually taking the concept of that tutorial and actually study, maybe supporting with live action reference, it really helped me to, first of all, understanding what I'm doing, and second, becoming a lot more efficient, because you don't want to do an animation tutorial or something and then after 1 month you need to redo it and suddenly like, oh my god, I don't remember how to do it anymore because I did it only once. You're not learning like this, okay guys? And yes, so these things helped me a lot at the beginning when I was starting. So I hope these kind of things it can help you. You know, sometimes I was watching the tutorial, listening to the tutorial over and over 10 times a day while I was doing something else, just because I want to memorize in my brain things over and over. Alright guys, I hope it's helped, and see you next time. Ciao guys.